We were talking about the division that has been exposed in the last presidential election. Did it come to you as a surprise, or do you think it was always there? And do you think that division was based on race and gender?
You know, I think that's an interesting question. I think it's a complicated issue. If you look at the electoral map, obviously, you know, the red states were in the middle of the country, and then you see a lot of blue on the coastlines in the major cities. So there's something else going on here. I don't think it's race or gender. I think it's something about you know, globalization. And certain parts of the American electorate don't feel they're part of the benefits and prosperity of globalization. In fact, they feel they're left behind. And if you look at a lot of the rural areas in the U.S., there's a lot of, you know, depression in the economy because of the transition in our economy. And, you know, there's a lot of hopelessness. So that needs to be a focus. You know, the next administration does need to address all of America, and that includes everyone, and particularly these people who do feel left behind or left out of some of the prosperity that's occurred because of globalization. So I think that's the real divide. Those who feel they've been left behind or forgotten. And I don't believe it's strictly about race or gender. That's not to say that we haven't had some very ugly rhetoric on these issues. And that's why I say it's now incumbent upon President-elect Trump to explain what the U.S. is all about. We're a melting pot. We're a country of diversity. We're a country of freedom of religion. And so my hope is that these are the kinds of values that will be brought forth and will bring our country back together.
Let's talk about immigration. Donald Trump, President-elect Donald Trump, did say that he wanted to ban Muslims from entering this country, even though he added some nuances later on. So do you think under this new administration, the immigration policy will be changed, or do you see any possible changes?
Well, again, let me come back to, you know, the fact that we are a country based on religious freedom, and there is respect for all faiths in the U.S., including the Muslim faith. So to make any kind of distinction based on religion, a person's religion, is absolutely ridiculous and repugnant. So I think that, you know, the immigration issue, what he is now pointing out is he wants to deal with illegal immigration, and specifically illegal immigrants who have committed crime in the U.S. So that's where he has focused his attention right now. So I think it's still early, and people are waiting to see, you know, what he meant when he said build a wall, because clearly that's not realistic. But I think people are waiting to see, you know, how this will happen. But we're already starting to see some shifting. And again, he's talking about illegal immigrants who have committed crimes and dealing with that. And you know, again, we're a country that is filled with immigrants, and we're better off because of it, because of our diversity. It makes our country richer and a better country. And so I think, you know, it's early days. We have to see where, you know, we have to see who he appoints to key positions. First, it will be Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, National Security Advisor, Attorney General. We don't know who he will put in place for these positions. So I think that will tell us a great deal about the direction he'll move in.
Yeah, the transition team is at work now, and Donald Trump is due to take office in January, but now the cabinet is slowly taking shape. We are hearing some names for some important positions like Chief of Staff, Chief Strategist, and advisor, senior advisor, that kind of stuff, Secretary of State. The names that you are hearing now, does it give you any picture of the cabinet that will ultimately take responsibility?
Well, I think first of all there has been a shakeup in the transition team, and so that has slowed the process down to some degree. And I think these kinds of things are to be expected as you transition from running an electoral campaign to running a government. So it's not surprising that there's been this shakeup. And but like I said, we have to wait and see who is designated for these positions. There have been several names, people who have a great deal of experience on these issues. And I think it's very telling that President-elect Trump met with President Obama. They had a productive meeting. They talked about the important issues. Trump seems to have listened very closely to the things that President Obama told him about the challenges he faces, whether it be terrorism or other foreign policy challenges. So I think right now the Trump campaign is absorbing, this is a monumental task coming into an administration. So I think, we all need to take a deep breath and be patient and wait to see, who is appointed and what of the election rhetoric falls away, and what the actual policies of the Trump administration will be. I think everybody is concerned and has a lot of questions, but at the same time I think we need to take a deep breath and be patient and see what happens moving forward.